And so, Ms. Crockett, given the repeated interruptions, the disregard for chamber decorum, a fine of $50,000 is hereby imposed for contempt of court. The gavel doesn't bang, it just rests heavy. Silence, thick, sudden silence where the air used to be. 50,000. Jasmine Crockett doesn't flinch, doesn't gasp. Her eyes, steady on Judge Atherton, just hold. Atherton leans back slightly, a practiced look of judicial patience, almost regret, almost. The smile lines around his eyes don't quite reach them. He clears his throat, a little sound in the vast quiet. This is supposed to be the end of it, the punctuation mark. But Jasmine's stillness hangs there, a question mark. She blinks once slow, deliberate. The court reporter's fingers hover over the keys, waiting. Even the air conditioning seems to pause. You could hear a pin drop. You could hear Atherton's pulse, probably. He adjusts his robes, a small, unnecessary movement. Still, she says nothing. The power dynamic is supposed to be set. Gavel, robe, fine. But her silence is loud. It's pulling focus. Atherton shifts again. Uncomfortable. Why isn't she reacting? Why isn't she arguing, pleading, protesting? He expected fire, he got ice. And $50,000 is a lot of fire to extinguish. Or maybe ignite. Finally, her voice, calm, even not loud, but it cuts through the stillness. Your Honor, may I seek clarification on the specific grounds? Atherton raises an eyebrow. The patient mask flickers, annoyance. Ms. Crockett, the grounds were stated. Repeated interruptions, disregard for decorum. His tone is textbook, measured, patronizing. He thinks this is checkmate, just mop up. Jasmine tilts her head slightly, a micro-movement, perceptive. Yes, Your Honor, but $50,000 suggests significant disregard. Could you specify the interruption you deemed worth, say, $10,000, or the moment decorum fractured to the tune of 20? A ripple of something in the gallery, a nervous cough, a shifted weight. They weren't expecting this either. Atherton's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. This is not the procedure, Ms. Crockett. The finding is made, the fine is imposed. His voice is firmer now, trying to reassert control. The charm is fading, the rules are coming out. And yet, I heard interruptions from opposing counsel met with gentle reminders, not penalties that equate to a year's salary for many people in this district. Her words are still quiet, still measured, but there's steel underneath. She's not yelling, she's dissecting. Atherton leans forward now. The mask is slipping faster. Are you accusing this court of bias, Ms. Crockett? Tread very carefully. The threat is veiled but present. Contempt finding could get worse. No, Your Honor, I'm asking for consistency. If the rules apply, they should apply evenly. $50,000 feels less like a penalty and more like a message. A message, Atherton scoffs lightly, and what message would that be? His confidence is returning. He thinks he has her cornered. Accuse me, go on. Jasmine holds his gaze. Long seconds pass. The air crackles. Her next words land with surgical precision. That dissent is expensive, Your Honor, especially when it comes from certain voices. Gasps, sharp intakes of breath from the gallery. Not loud, but audible, unmistakable. The court reporter's fingers fly across the keys. Atherton's face flushes, a dark red creeping up his neck. He grips the edge of the bench, white knuckles. Ms. Crockett, you are perilously close to compounding the contempt finding. Perilously close, Your Honor. Or simply stating the observable difference in treatment within this very courtroom, within this very hour. She doesn't raise her voice, doesn't need to. The facts laid bare are doing the work. The audience is leaning forward now, rapt. They came for legal drama. They're getting something else, something raw. Atherton opens his mouth, closes it. He seems momentarily lost. The script is gone. He was expecting outrage, maybe tears. Not this calm, logical dismantling. He looks around the courtroom as if searching for an ally, sees only wide eyes, focused eyes. Eyes on him, eyes on her. He clears his throat again, louder this time, a sound searching for authority. The fine stands, Ms. Crockett. This discussion is over. Move on to the next item on the docket, Madam Clerk. He forces the shift, tries to wrench the proceedings back onto familiar ground. But the echo of $50,000 still hangs in the air, and the image of Jasmine Crockett's unwavering gaze. She gives a small, almost imperceptible nod, not in agreement, in acknowledgement. The discussion might be over for him, but it feels like something else just began. The silence that follows isn't empty this time, it's charged. Waiting. The clerk, flustered, shuffles papers. The moment stretches, uncomfortable. Atherton avoids looking at Jasmine. He stares fixedly at the papers in front of him. But everyone else is looking at her. Respect, dawning respect. And maybe fear of what they just witnessed, fear for her, fear of the power imbalance so starkly revealed. $50,000. The number itself becomes absurd, meaningless and yet meaning everything. It's not about the money anymore, it never was. It's about the price tag placed on speaking truth to power. And Jasmine Crockett just refused to pay it quietly. She adjusts her jacket, smooths the fabric, a simple, grounding gesture. Ready for the next item. But the air remains thick with the unspoken. The gavel rests, still heavy, still silent, but somehow lighter than her gaze. Part 2. The clerk calls the next case, a zoning dispute, mundane. But the energy in the courtroom hasn't dissipated, it's just shifted, coiled. Judge Atherton tries to engage, asks pointed questions, cites precedents. But his voice lacks its earlier boom. The performative authority feels hollow. He keeps glancing towards Jasmine's table, quick, furtive looks. She's focused on her notes, or seems to be. But you can feel her listening. Her presence is a weight in the room. Opposing counsel in the zoning case seems flustered too, picking up on the vibe. Answers are shorter, eyes dart around. Nobody wants to be the next one to step on a landmine. The $50,000 question hangs over every procedural point. Is this question acceptable? Is this objection allowed? What's the real cost of disagreeing today? Jasmine makes a note, a simple underline. Atherton sees the movement, pauses mid-sentence. He clears his throat, loses his place. As Section 4B clearly stipulates, He fumbles, blinks rapidly. A low murmur ripples through the back rows, not loud but noticeable. Sympathy? No, more like confirmation. They saw the crack, now they see the tremor. Jasmine doesn't look up, doesn't react. Her stillness is relentless. It's amplifying his discomfort. He finds his place, continues, but the damage is done, the veneer is cracked. He rushes through the zoning arguments, eager to get past it, eager to regain control. His ruling on the matter feels abrupt, almost dismissive. He wants this day over. You can see it in the tightness around his mouth. He calls a short recess, 10 minutes. He practically flees the bench, robes billowing behind him. The moment he's gone, the courtroom erupts, not in noise but in urgent whispers. People turn to each other, eyes wide. Did you hear that? 50,000. Can he even do that? The way she just looked at him. Her composure, unbelievable. Jasmine remains seated for a moment, gathering her papers slowly, methodically. Her paralegal leans in, whispering something. Jasmine nods slightly. A faint smile touches her lips, gone as quickly as it appears. She stands tall, straight. As she walks towards the aisle, people shift, make way. There's a different kind of attention on her now, not just curiosity, respect, awe. Someone whispers, "Good for you." She doesn't acknowledge it directly, but there's a subtle softening in her eyes. She knows, she feels the shift. Outside the courtroom, the whispers are louder. Mobile phones are out. People are texting, making calls. This isn't just courtroom drama anymore. It's becoming news. Someone asks her for a comment, a local blogger maybe. Jasmine offers a polite, neutral smile. Just doing my job, representing my client, upholding the principles of fairness. Simple words, but loaded now, heavy with the context of what just happened. She doesn't mention the fine, doesn't mention the judge. She doesn't have to. The contrast does the work, her calm professionalism against his visible crack under pressure. $50,000, The number echoes in the hallway chatter. It's already a symbol, a hashtag waiting to happen. She walks away, not hurried but purposeful, leaving behind a buzzing hive of speculation and disbelief. Inside the empty courtroom, the silence feels different again. Anticipatory. The stage is set for the next act. The judge will return. He knows the whispers, he knows the looks. He has 10 minutes to rebuild his composure, to find his authority again. But the ground has shifted. The power dynamic, so clearly defined by robe and gavel an hour ago, is now fluid. Jasmine Crockett didn't raise her voice. She raised the stakes. She turned a penalty into a spotlight. And Judge Atherton is realizing, perhaps too late, that the spotlight burns. The 10-minute recess feels like an eternity. And the return feels inevitable, charged. Someone checks their phone, a small gasp. It's already starting, a tweet, a short clip. The digital ripple begins before the recess even ends. The courtroom doors open, time's up. Part 3. Judge Atherton returns to the bench. His face is composed, too composed. It's a mask hastily reapplied. The eyes behind it are hard, cold. He sits, surveys the room, dares anyone to meet his gaze. Few do. The whispers die instantly, replaced by a tense, waiting silence. He deliberately avoids looking towards Jasmine Crockett's table. He calls the next case. His voice is brittle, stripped of its earlier forced warmth. Pure, unadulterated authority, or the performance of it. He's laying down the law, reasserting dominance. Ms. Crockett has another matter before the court later, not this one. She sits observing still. But her presence is undeniable, a silent rebuke to the performance on the bench. Atherton is sharp with the attorneys in this new case, cutting them off, impatient. He's making a point. I'm in control here, I set the tone. See, decorum, order, swift justice. But it feels forced, punitive. Like a parent trying too hard to regain control after a public meltdown. The lawyers are jumpy, eager to please, eager to avoid being the next target. Yes, Your Honor, of course, Your Honor, understood, Your Honor. The deference is thick, cloying. It highlights rather than hides the tension. Jasmine makes another note. Her pen moves slowly across the pad. Atherton's eyes flick towards the movement. He falters for a split second. A tiny crack in the new facade. He recovers quickly, but the effort is visible. This isn't sustainable. He's burning energy just maintaining this brittle control. The gallery is quieter now, but more focused. They're not just watching the case. They're watching the judge, watching him watch Jasmine. It's a silent power play, unfolding beneath the surface of legal proceedings. Her stillness versus his strained authority. Her quiet confidence versus his brittle pronouncements. He issues a ruling in the current case, abruptly, without his usual lengthy explanation. Move on, next, keep the pace fast. No room for challenges, no room for questions. He can't afford another moment like the one before the recess. He knows it, everyone knows it. The clerk calls another case. And then another. The afternoon wears on. Atherton keeps the pace punishingly fast. He's trying to bury the earlier incident under sheer volume of judicial activity. But the ghost of the $50,000 fine lingers. Every ruling, every sharp retort is filtered through that lens. Is this justice or payback? Is this procedure or control? Jasmine's case is approaching, the final one on the docket today. The air in the courtroom grows heavier, thicker. People who had left start to filter back in. Word has spread. The gallery is fuller now than it was this morning. Standing room only at the back. They want to see the final act. Jasmine consults with her client, quietly, intently. Her focus is absolute, or appears to be. She is the calm center in a room vibrating with anticipation. Atherton sees the growing crowd, his lips thin. He dislikes scrutiny, especially this kind. This isn't the respect he craves. It's morbid curiosity, it's judgment. He takes a sip of water. His hand trembles slightly. He puts the glass down quickly. He knows this next interaction will be recorded, analyzed, tweeted. The pressure is immense and self-inflicted. He could have just given a warning, a smaller fine. But no, he had to make a statement. And now the statement has taken on a life of its own. He looks at the clock, taps his fingers on the bench. Impatient, cornered. The clerk calls the final case, Jasmine Crockett for the defense. She stands, walks to the lectern, smoothly, confidently. All eyes are on her and on the judge. The silence is absolute, waiting. Atherton looks down at her. His expression is unreadable, a careful blankness. Proceed, Ms. Crockett. His voice is flat, devoid of inflection. The performance begins again, but the audience knows what's behind the mask. They saw it crack, and they're waiting to see if it will hold. Part 4. Jasmine begins her argument, clear, concise, logical. Her voice is steady, professional. She lays out the facts of her client's case, cites the relevant statutes. No emotion, just the law. It's a deliberate choice, a stark contrast to the earlier fireworks. She's demonstrating competence, control, respect for the process, even when the process or the person running it seems flawed. Judge Atherton listens, or appears to. His posture is rigid, his gaze fixed somewhere over her left shoulder. He interrupts her once, twice. Procedural points, clarifications, seemingly neutral. But the timing feels pointed, disruptive. Trying to throw her off balance, assert control subtly. Jasmine pauses, answers his questions directly, calmly. She doesn't rise to the bait, if it is bait. She incorporates his points, addresses them, returns to her argument seamlessly. It's like watching a skilled fencer parry thrusts, effortlessly. The gallery watches, mesmerized. This is mastery under pressure. She's not just arguing her case. She's schooling him in judicial temperament, without saying a word about it. A memory surfaces, not hers, mine, narrating this. Thinking about her background, South Dallas, working multiple jobs, fighting her way through law school. She's faced tougher crowds than this, scarier adversaries. This isn't just legal training, this is life training. This is resilience forged in fire. Atherton doesn't know who he's dealing with. He sees a lawyer, he doesn't see the fighter. He interrupts again, more sharply this time. Ms. Crockett, is this line of argument strictly relevant to the motion before us? The mask slips again, annoyance flashes in his eyes. Jasmine meets his gaze directly, holds it. Yes, Your Honor, it speaks directly to the pattern of behavior established by the plaintiff, which is central to our defense, as outlined on page 7 of our brief. She doesn't back down, but she offers the justification, calmly, factually. She gives him the out, take the reasonable explanation, move on. He hesitates, glances down at the brief she referenced, flips a page. He's caught, challenging her on the substance, unprepared. He clears his throat. Very well, proceed, but keep it concise. A small victory, a subtle shift. She called his bluff, he backed down. The audience notices, a low murmur, a shared glance. He's losing ground, even in these small skirmishes. Jasmine continues her argument. Her rhythm is back, smooth, confident. She builds her case brick by brick, logic, evidence, precedent. She's not just defending her client. She's demonstrating what diligent, respectful advocacy looks like, even in the face of provocation. The contrast with Atherton's earlier outburst, his current brittle impatience, is stark. He interjects less now, sits back in his chair, watching her. Is he reassessing, or just waiting for another opportunity? His expression is hard to read, but the arrogance from this morning is gone, replaced by something else: wariness, resentment. He knows he's being watched, judged, not just by her, by everyone. By the invisible audience that will soon see the clips, read the tweets, hear the commentary. His legacy, defined by this day, by this interaction. The thought seems to land heavily on him. He shifts uncomfortably in his seat. Jasmine reaches the crux of her argument. Her voice gains intensity, not volume, intensity. She connects the dots, makes the case compellingly. It's persuasive, clear, hard to refute. Even Atherton seems to be listening intently now, perhaps despite himself. She concludes, summarizes her points. requests the desired ruling. "Thank you, Your Honor." She steps back from the lectern, composed, steady. She met the requirements, delivered the argument professionally, despite the $50,000 elephant still in the room. The silence returns, but it's different now. It's the silence after a powerful performance, respectful, appreciative. Atherton looks at her, then at the opposing counsel. "Do you have a response?" His voice is tired. The fight seems to have drained him. The opposing counsel offers a brief, almost perfunctory rebuttal. It feels anticlimactic after Jasmine's presentation. Atherton listens, nods occasionally, makes a note. The tension is still there, but the expectation of fireworks has dimmed, replaced by a weary anticipation of the end. He needs to rule. He needs to address the Crockett fine situation again, perhaps, or just let it hang there. What's the final move? Part 5. Judge Atherton takes a breath, a long, slow breath. He looks down at his notes, then out at the courtroom. His gaze sweeps across the packed gallery, lingers for a moment on Jasmine Crockett. The court has heard the arguments. His voice is lower now, less sharp, almost weary. He gives his ruling on the case Jasmine just argued. He rules partially in her favor, a compromise, not the complete victory she sought, but not a defeat either. It feels calculated, an attempt to appear balanced, to diffuse the situation. Hard to say. Then the moment everyone has been waiting for. He addresses the earlier matter, the fine. His eyes find Jasmine again. This time he holds her gaze. "Ms. Crockett, regarding the finding of contempt earlier today." The courtroom holds its collective breath. Is he going to double down, apologize, reduce it? This court operates on rules of decorum and procedure. They are essential for the fair administration of justice. He sounds like he's reading from a script again, rehearsed. "My finding was based on perceived violations of those rules." Perceived violations, interesting choice of words, a slight softening. However, the pause hangs in the air, pregnant. Upon reflection, and perhaps in the heat of the moment, the quantum of the fine imposed may be disproportionate. Maybe disproportionate, not was excessive, careful wording. A ripple of sound, anticipation. Therefore, the court modifies the fine for contempt. Another pause, he knows how to work a moment, even a tense one. The fine is reduced to $5,000. $5,000 still significant, but a 90% reduction. It's a climb down, a major climb down, but delivered with the same judicial authority, an attempt to frame it as his decision, his careful reconsideration. Not a reaction to pressure, not an admission of error. He looks directly at Jasmine, expecting gratitude, relief. She meets his gaze, her expression is neutral, unreadable. She simply nods, once, acknowledging his words, nothing more. No smile, no sigh of relief. The power of that quiet nod, it speaks volumes. "You blinked, you backed down, I see it." Atherton seems deflated by her lack of visible reaction. What did he expect? Applause. He clears his throat. This modification stands, court is adjourned. He bangs the gavel, quick, sharp, final. He stands, turns, walks towards his chambers, quickly, without looking back. The room is silent for a beat, processing. $5,000. He backed down, he blinked. Then a sound starts, low at first. Clapping. One person, then another, then more. It builds, not a roar, but steady, solid applause. It's for her, for Jasmine Crockett. For her composure, her steel spine, her quiet victory. She looks surprised, genuinely taken aback for the first time today. A slight flush rises on her cheeks. She gives a small, almost shy smile, a quick nod to the gallery. The applause continues as she gathers her belongings. Her paralegal is beaming, grabs her arm, congratulations. Jasmine murmurs something, thanks, let's go. She walks out, head held high. The applause follows her into the hallway. It's not a triumphant exit, it's dignified, earned. The remaining people in the courtroom buzz. He caved, he totally caved. She didn't even have to argue about the fine again. 5,000 is still ridiculous, but wow. That quiet nod she gave him, ice cold. The story is complete now. The narrative arc is there. The confrontation, the climb down, the quiet win. And outside the courtroom, the digital storm is just beginning. Phones are alight, videos uploading. Crockett turns tables, judge who contempt of truth 50K TO 5K. The ripple is becoming a wave. Part 6. The courthouse steps are buzzing, more than usual. A few local news crews have shown up, scrambling, catching the tail end. They miss the main event, but they smell the fallout. Jasmine emerges, blinking in the sudden sunlight. Microphones are thrust towards her, questions fly. Ms. Crockett, what's your reaction to the fine reduction? Judge Atherton seemed to buckle under pressure, didn't he? Is $5,000 still an acceptable penalty for decorum? She holds up a hand, calmly, politely. Gentlemen, ladies, I came here today to represent my client to the best of my ability. That was my focus. A non-answer answer, smooth, professional. But what about the 50,000? That initial amount was shocking. It was significant. My focus remains on ensuring fair process and zealous advocacy within the bounds of the law. Thank you. She doesn't give them the soundbite they crave, doesn't attack the judge, doesn't claim victory. She knows the narrative is already out there. Her restraint is part of it. She gets into a waiting car. The door closes, she's gone, leaving the media scrum to feed on itself. They turn to people leaving the courthouse, eyewitness accounts. It was incredible, she just stared him down. He totally lost his cool, then tried to backtrack. 50,000, for what? Interrupting, give me a break. The story starts to solidify. The people versus the judge, with Crockett as the people's champion. Online, it's exploding. The initial clips, the $50K fine, Jasmine's calm response, are going viral, fast. Twitter is a firestorm. Judge Atherton needs to be investigated. This isn't justice, it's abuse of power. Crockett. Jasmine Crockett is my new hero. Calm, brilliant, and took no prisoners. That fine reduction wasn't mercy, it was fear. Quiet power. So speaking truth while black costs $50,000, later reduced to $5,000 when you refuse to be intimidated. Got it. Systemic bias Atherton. TikToks emerge. Quick cuts of the confrontation. Dramatic music. Text overlays. Watch this judge fine her $50K. Then watch her reaction. Memes sprout instantly. Judge Atherton's face mid-flush. Jasmine's calm stare. Captions comparing them. David versus Goliath. Cool V's cracked. Podcast hosts are already tweeting. Emergency episode tonight. You won't believe what happened in Judge Atherton's courtroom. Crockett vs. Goliath. The narrative is running away from Atherton. Fast. He wanted to make a statement about decorum. He made himself the story. His chambers must be silent now, or filled with frantic calls, damage control. Too late, the moment is captured, replayed, analyzed frame by frame. Her slow blink, his fumbling hands, the gasp from the gallery, the final, reluctant climb down. It's a masterclass in losing control while trying to assert it. And a masterclass in maintaining dignity under fire. Think about Atherton's career. Years on the bench, respected, feared maybe. All potentially undone by one afternoon. One loss of temper, one moment of hubris. He underestimated her, grossly. He saw her interruption as insubordination. Didn't see the systemic context she hinted at. Didn't see the audience watching. He thought his power was absolute within those four walls. Forgetting the walls are now glass, transparent to the world outside. The reduction of the fine, it doesn't read as judicial wisdom, it reads as retreat, damage limitation. He didn't apologize, he didn't acknowledge bias, he just lowered the price. Which in itself feels transactional, unseemly. It confirms her subtle accusation. Dissent is expensive, but may be negotiable under pressure. The story isn't just about a fine anymore, it's about temperament, fairness, abuse of power, race, gender. It's touching nerves, deep cultural nerves. Jasmine Crockett said she was just doing her job. But her job today involved holding a mirror up to the system. And the reflection wasn't pretty. The phone notifications pile up, news alerts, social media tags, friend requests. Her quiet drive away from the courthouse is the calm before her own personal storm. The world wants to talk to Jasmine Crockett. And Judge Atherton, he's likely discovering just how loud silence can be. The silence of his phone not ringing with support. The silence of colleagues avoiding eye contact. The silence of his own dawning realization. He picked the wrong fight on the wrong day with the wrong opponent. Part 7. The next morning, it's everywhere. Morning news shows, cable news panels, local papers, national blogs. The clip plays, Jasmine's calm voice. Dissent is expensive, Your Honor, especially when it comes from certain voices. Then Atherton's flustered reaction. The fine, the reduction. Pundits dissected. This wasn't just a legal dispute. This was a microcosm of power dynamics in America. Her composure was remarkable. She weaponized his own expectations against him. Judge Atherton clearly showed bias. That fine was punitive, not procedural. Calls for investigation. Judicial review boards mentioned. His photo is everywhere, not the stern official portrait, the flushed, angry snapshot from yesterday. Her photo, too, calm, composed, professional, the contrast is brutal. Social media hasn't slept. Stand with Crockett is trending. Atherton must go is gaining traction. People share their own stories of biased judges, unfair fines, workplace microaggressions. It resonates deeply. Jasmine hasn't made any further public statements. Smart. Let the viral wave crest. Let the conversation happen. Her silence now works differently. It allows others to speak for her, to project their own experiences onto the narrative. She's become a symbol, whether she intended to or not. Atherton releases a statement through the court spokesperson. Dry, formal. Judge Atherton regrets that the proceedings yesterday became a distraction. He remains committed to upholding the principles of fairness and impartiality. The modification of the fine reflected a standard judicial review of the situation. He considers the matter closed. It lands like a lead balloon. Regrets it became a distraction, not regrets his actions. Standard judicial review, ignoring the context, the pressure, the viral video. Considers the matter closed. Oh, does he now? The internet laughs, mocks the statement mercilessly. Translation, sorry you all noticed my meltdown. Standard judicial review equals oh crap, I'm trending for the wrong reasons review. He considers the matter closed. The Judicial Conduct Board might disagree. Atherton. The statement backfires, pours gasoline on the fire, makes him look even more out of touch, arrogant. He doesn't get it. He still doesn't get it. He thinks this is about procedure, about his authority being challenged. He doesn't see the deeper current he tapped into, the frustration with perceived injustice, the hunger for accountability. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett is probably preparing for her next case. That's the sense you get, grounded, focused. This whirlwind is happening around her, but not necessarily to her core being. Remember that earlier moment? The flashback, let's make it concrete. She's maybe 10 years old. Her grandfather, a retired union organizer, is watching her argue with her older brother over a game. She's passionate, loud, almost in tears. Her brother is laughing, enjoying her frustration. Her grandfather pulls her aside. Jasmine, he says, his voice quiet but firm. Loud doesn't win, right wins. You find the truth, you hold on to it, and you speak it quiet and clear. Let them yell, you stay steady. That lesson, learned young, applied now. Speak it quiet and clear. Let them yell, stay steady. That's what she did. She didn't yell back at Atherton. She didn't match his energy. She found the truth, the inconsistency, the implied bias. She spoke it quiet and clear. And he effectively yelled, through the fine, through his anger. And he lost decisively, not just the fine reduction, he lost credibility, lost face. The ripple continues outwards. Law professors discuss it in class. Ethics seminars debate it. Other judges watch, learn, or maybe just get nervous. The cost of losing your temper on the bench just went up, exponentially. The price of bias, once hidden, now has a viral spotlight attached. Jasmine Crockett didn't set out to be a giant slayer. She set out to defend her client, to do her job. But by doing it with integrity and quiet strength, she exposed a weakness in the system. She showed what happens when unchecked power meets immovable principle. And the world leaned in to watch and learn. The fallout for Atherton is just beginning. The formal inquiries, the whispers in the courthouse hallways, the loss of respect. That $50,000 fine, it might cost him far, far more in the end. The price of underestimation, the cost of arrogance. It's steep. Part 8. Weeks pass. The initial media frenzy dies down, replaced by the next outrage cycle. But the Crockett-Atherton encounter hasn't disappeared. It's settled into the cultural lexicon. It's referenced in other contexts, workplace disputes, political debates. Don't pull an Atherton becomes shorthand for losing your cool and overplaying your hand. Handle it like Crockett means staying calm, speaking truth, letting the opponent self-destruct. Her viral line, "Dissent is expensive, Your Honor," especially when it comes from certain voices, gets quoted, used in memes, repeated in speeches. It captured something fundamental. Jasmine Crockett herself keeps a low profile. She gives a few carefully managed interviews, always professional, always redirecting focus to the systemic issues, not the personal conflict. She talks about access to justice, the need for diversity on the bench, implicit bias training. She uses the moment not for self-aggrandizement, but for advocacy. It reinforces her image, principled, strategic, not just reacting but building. What about Judge Atherton? The Judicial Conduct Board did launch an inquiry, quietly, behind closed doors. No public censure yet, but the investigation itself is a stain. Lawyers appearing before him report a change. He's subdued, more cautious, less prone to sarcastic remarks or displays of temper. The arrogance is gone, replaced by a brittle formality, a wariness. He sticks strictly to procedure, rarely deviates from the script. Some say he's learned his lesson, others say he's just scared, running out the clock to retirement. The power dynamic in his courtroom has irrevocably shifted. Everyone knows the story, everyone watched the tapes. He sits on the bench, but his authority feels borrowed, conditional. He lost the inherent respect. Now he merely wields the procedural power. It's different. There's an awkwardness when Jasmine Crockett has a case before him now. Both are meticulously professional, scrupulously polite. But the air crackles with unspoken history. The memory of that afternoon hangs heavy. He avoids prolonged eye contact. She maintains her steady gaze. It's uncomfortable for everyone. A quiet tension that underscores every motion filed, every objection raised. The $5,000 fine was paid, quietly, by her firm or a defense fund, likely a footnote. The real price was paid in reputation, in credibility, in the public stripping away of judicial mystique. The Greek chorus, the audience in the courtroom that day, they felt the shift happen live, gasps to silence to applause. Now the wider public has absorbed it, processed it. The online eruption solidified the narrative. He, the biased authority figure who cracked. She, the composed challenger who stood firm. It's a modern parable, shared millions of times. A second personal reflection hits. Her decision not to gloat, not to spike the football. It was crucial. If she had attacked Atherton afterwards, claimed personal victory, demanded his resignation, the narrative could have shifted. Angry woman, disrespectful lawyer, playing the victim. The usual tropes. But her restraint, her focus on principles not personalities, made her untouchable. It validated her position. She won by embodying the very decorum Atherton accused her of lacking, while he himself displayed the opposite. The irony is potent, lasting. The long-term ripple, hard to measure precisely. Does it change how other judges behave? Maybe slightly. Makes them think twice before imposing outrageous fines or letting bias show? Hopefully. Does it empower other lawyers, especially women and minorities, to stand their ground? Probably. Seeing her do it successfully provides a powerful example. Does it raise public awareness about judicial temperament and potential bias? Definitely. It's not a revolution, but it's a significant tremor, a crack in the facade. And it started with one woman refusing to be silenced, refusing to accept an unjust penalty. Speaking truth, quiet and clear. The quiet dominance she displayed in those final moments, the simple nod acknowledging the reduced fine, The calm exit amidst applause, that's the enduring image. No victory lap needed. The victory was self-evident. The respect palpable, uncomfortable for some perhaps, but undeniable. The courtroom drama ended. The cultural conversation continues. Part 9. The story evolves online, takes on new shapes. Think pieces analyze the intersection of race, gender, and power in the courtroom. Law students write papers about it. Case studies in judicial temperament and contempt power abuse. Documentary filmmakers inquire. Podcasters dedicate follow-up episodes. Where is Judge Atherton now? What's next for Jasmine Crockett? Atherton fades from public view as much as possible. He finishes his term, announces his retirement. No fanfare, just gone. His legacy is forever tied to that one afternoon. The $50K fine, the viral takedown, unfair? Maybe, but narratives once set are hard to change, especially when video evidence exists. Jasmine Crockett's trajectory shifts. She continues her legal work, fiercely dedicated to her clients. But opportunities arise, invitations to speak, offers to write, encouragement to run for office. That composure, that sharp intellect, that quiet strength, people see leadership potential. She handles the attention with the same grace she showed in court, measured, thoughtful, never letting the hype overshadow the substance. She talks about the case only when it serves a larger point about systemic reform. That day wasn't about me, she might say in an interview. It was about what happens when systems aren't checked. It was about the need for constant vigilance to ensure fairness. Her restraint continues to be her power. The viral moment, "Dissent is expensive," becomes a rallying cry for activists, appears on protest signs, gets sampled in songs. It transcends the legal context, speaks to broader frustrations about challenging authority. The online commentary never fully stops. Years later, the clip resurfaces periodically. Remember this, still relevant, legend. It becomes a touchstone, a reference point. The supporting characters fade back into their roles. The court reporter types on. The clerk calls cases. The audience moves on to the next spectacle. But they carry the memory, the feeling of being in that room, the shift in power they witnessed firsthand. The story becomes part of the courthouse lore, told and retold by clerks, bailiffs, older lawyers. You should have been here the day Crockett took down Atherton. It serves as a cautionary tale for new judges, a source of inspiration for young attorneys. The public reaction wasn't just polarized, it was clarifying. Those who defended Atherton often focused on respect for the bench. Rules are rules, she was interrupting. They missed the deeper context, or chose to ignore it. Those who supported Crockett saw the bias, the disproportionate reaction, the courage in her response. They saw the systemic issues reflected in the personal conflict. The incident forced people to pick a side, not just on the fine, but on what fairness and respect really mean in halls of power. It revealed fault lines, pre-existing biases. The fine was reduced, but the exposure was total. Atherton wanted to enforce decorum. Instead, he became a symbol of judicial overreach. Crockett wanted to argue her case. Instead, she became a symbol of principled resistance. The ending wasn't neat. Justice wasn't fully restored with a fine reduction. The system didn't magically fix itself. But something shifted. A public reckoning occurred. A powerful man was held accountable, not by formal sanction initially, but by the court of public opinion amplified by technology. And a relatively unknown lawyer showed everyone that quiet truth can be louder than blustering authority. The resonance remains, a low hum beneath the daily noise, a reminder. Part 10. Years later, where does the echo settle? Jasmine Crockett, maybe she did run for office. Congresswoman Crockett now, still sharp, still composed, but the platform is bigger. The fights are different yet the same, fighting for fairness. Challenging entrenched power, still speaking truth, quiet and clear, but now amplified by position. That courtroom moment, it's part of her origin story, the thing people mention when they introduce her, the moment that revealed her core. She doesn't lean on it, but she doesn't shy away from it. It's part of the fabric. Or maybe she didn't run, maybe she started a nonprofit, focused on judicial reform, training young lawyers, working to diversify the bench. Still fighting the systemic issues highlighted that day. Her impact is different, perhaps quieter on the national stage, but deep, foundational. Either way, the trajectory changed. That confrontation, that fine, that quiet victory, it was a catalyst. A moment that focused her path, amplified her voice. Judge Atherton, retired, living quietly, perhaps playing golf. Perhaps writing memoirs no one will publish. Does he ever see the clip? Does he understand now what really happened? Or does he cling to his version, the disruptive lawyer, the necessary fine, the unfair media storm? We never really know. He exists now mostly as the antagonist in her story. A footnote in her rise, the price of his own actions. The online world. The clip is permanently archived, part of the digital landscape, pulled out occasionally as a classic moment of speaking truth to power. Used in ethics training videos, shown in law schools, its meaning is stable now, a case study, a warning, an inspiration. The Greek chorus, the audience, they tell the story sometimes. I was there. They felt the tension, the shift, the quiet applause. It's a personal memory tied to a public event, a reminder that history happens in rooms like that, unexpectedly, powerfully. The ripple effect continues in subtle ways. Lawyers thinking twice about interrupting, sure. But also, lawyers feeling slightly more emboldened to challenge perceived bias, knowing there can be public support, even if it carries risk. Judges being slightly more mindful of their demeanor, knowing that cameras are everywhere and viral moments can define careers. The glass walls are real. The public having a clearer, more visceral understanding of how power operates in seemingly mundane settings, how microaggressions stack up, how composure can be a weapon, how silence can flip the script. It wasn't just a confrontation, it was a demonstration. Jasmine Crockett demonstrated integrity under pressure. Judge Atherton demonstrated how quickly authority can crumble when it's based on ego rather than principle. The ending in the courtroom, the reduced fine, the applause, her dignified exit, wasn't the real ending. The real ending is ongoing. It's in the continued conversation, in the changed perceptions, in the careers altered, in the subtle shifts in courtroom dynamics across the country. It's in the young law student watching the clip and thinking, that's the kind of lawyer I want to be. It's in the citizen watching it and thinking, maybe the system can be challenged. No victory lap, no triumphant declaration, just the quiet resonance of truth spoken, heard, and amplified. The $50,000 fine that became $5,000. The judge who tried to impose silence and created an uproar. The lawyer who stood her ground, quiet and clear, and turned the tables in under a minute of charged silence and pointed questions. The echo remains, powerful, persistent, a testament to the enduring power of quiet strength. The story doesn't need a neat bow, it just needs to be remembered. It resonates, that's enough.